So today we're going to be learning about subtracting across zeros in a three-digit number. So our learning target for today is I can subtract across zeros in a three-digit number. And you'll know you're successful with this when you have regrouped, because every time you have zeros in the top, unless you have straight zeros in the bottom, you're going to be regrouping. And your answer is reasonable. So we're going to first look at the problem 300 minus 197. So what would be a reasonable answer for 300 minus 197? And I'm going to give you a second to think about it. I want you to have your answer, what you think would be a reasonable answer for this problem. So what do you think? A reasonable answer would be, and we don't have to round the 300 because the 300 is already in pretty good working shape, but the 197 we know is close to 200. So if we have 300 and we're taking 200 out of it, a reasonable difference for this problem would be close to 100. So when we solve this problem, our actual answer should be close to 100. So we'll come back and visit our reasonableness here. So how do we represent 300? Because that's our starting value. When we're finding a difference, we have to start with a value. And our value that we're starting with is 300. And so I'm going to have 300 blocks. So each of these blocks represents 100. So three of them together is going to be representative of our 300. So I made a little chart here, and this is easy to replicate on your paper. You have a hundreds spot for your place value of hundreds, a 10 spot for your place value of tens, and a 1 spot for your place value of ones. So I'm going to put my 300s blocks over here where you see the hundreds, because that's what I have is 300s blocks. So if we look at our problem 397 and we start to subtract, we notice that right here in the ones place, I need to take away 7 ones. I need to take out 7 ones out of this 300, but I don't have any ones to take out. So normally in a problem like this, you would go to the tens place and you would say to yourself, I need to break up one of these tens, but I don't have any tens. So I have to go all the way to the hundreds place. I know I have 300s. That's the value that I have. So the first step to start breaking apart this number is to visit all the way over to the hundreds place. So you'll see that here I've taken one of these hundreds and I crossed it out because I'm going to make a trade. I'm going to trade in one of these hundreds for 10 tens. So I haven't changed the value of what's there. So I'm going to count this out loud and watch my mouse as I count. 100, 200, 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260, 270, 280, 290, 300. I still have 300 here. I didn't change the value of the number. I just made an exchange. I exchanged 100 block for 10 tens. And you'll see how I recorded that here. I took away one of the hundreds out of the hundreds place, and I made this a 2 because I only had, if you see, I only have 2 hundreds here, okay? So I moved over to the tens place. I exchanged it for 10 tens. So 2 hundreds and 10 tens, and that's here, 2 hundreds and 10 tens, which again is still equivalent to 300. I haven't changed the value. But if I look over in this hundreds place, I still see that there's a problem. I still don't have any ones so that I can take away 7 ones. So I can take out 7 ones out of this value. But now I have something to work with in the tens place. So if I look over here, I see that I have some tens. So I'm going to end up breaking up one of these tens so that I can get some ones, and then my number can be in working shape. So again, I had 2 hundreds and 10 tens, and now I'm looking in the ones place because this is really my starting point. But I had to go all the way across the number because I didn't have anything to work with in the other place values. So now I've taken one of those tens and I've broken it up into 10 ones. I still only have 300 here. So let's count together. 100, 200, 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260, 270, 280, 290, 291, 292, 293, 294, 295, 296, 297, 298, 299, 300. I still only have 300 here. The number looks different now. It has a 2 in the hundreds place. And now it has a 9. I've had to cross out my 10 because I don't have 10 tens anymore. I only have 9 of them. I had to take one of those tens to break it up. So I have 2 hundreds, 9 tens, and 10 ones. And if we go back and look, 2 hundreds, 9 tens, and 10 ones, which we just counted, is still only 300. So even though you see this number looking a little different, the top number, the value of the top number here is still just 300. So again, this value is still only 300, so that's what we're taking it out of. So now we can subtract. I have 10 ones, and I can take away 7 ones, which leaves me with 3 ones. I had 9 tens. I'm taking away all 9 of those tens, which leaves me with 0 tens. I had 2 hundreds. I'm taking away one of those hundreds, which leaves me with 103. So let's go back and visit and see, is that a reasonable answer? Well, when we found our reasonable answer earlier, we said that 197 was close to 200. So 300 minus 200, a reasonable difference would be close to 100. So yes, an answer of 103 is very close to our estimate, our reasonable difference. So we're going to look at a different problem, 500 minus 224. And the very first step is always in my head, always think, what would be a reasonable answer, a reasonable difference for this? And I know that 224 is close to 200, so a reasonable difference would be around 300. So when I solve this problem, my answer should be close to 300. So I look here at my 500. And if I had blocks out, I would know that this would be 500s blocks. But I can't deal with these hundreds and tens if there's nothing there. So I had to go all the way across my number to the hundreds place. I took one of the hundreds blocks and broke it up. So now I'm left with only 4 hundreds, and I made it 10 tens. But remember, breaking that up into 400s and 10 tens is still only 500. But I don't have anything in this ones place, so I have to break up one of these tens, and that leaves me with 9 tens and 10 ones. So now that I have moved around my place values to where I have a number that I can work with. So look here, this is 400s. This is 9 tens. I know 400s and 9 tens is 490. Plus 10 more ones would still only be 500. So these 3 values that I'm dealing with still are equivalent to this 500. Then I can look. 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 2 is 7. And 4 minus 2 is 2. So I get an answer of 200, a difference of 276. So our answer of 276 is reasonable because our estimate was 300, and that's close. It would round to 300, so it's definitely a reasonable answer. So our learning target today was I can subtract across zeros in a 3-digit number. And you'll know you have done this when you regrouped and your answer is reasonable. You're going to be practicing more of these with your teacher.